Most gracious, Ya Wasi.
Well, the time just gone at 9:47 a.m. and as we head towards closure, Alhamdulillah, we have this honor of paying a tribute and honoring the legacy and the life and the impact of Marhoom Imam Ekeraam Diedericks, rahimahumullah, who has been a pillar of faith, family, and community. And we are joined by a number of people to honor Marhoom Imam Ikram. We have got Shaykh Jamiel Abrahams, who is one of Marhoom Imam Ikram's first students. And also we've got Sheikh Muhamad Zaid van Wyk joining us out of Egypt, a student at the Azhar University and a graduate from Darul in Pretoria. And also Shaykh Shakir Bakir from the Eldorado Park community and also an activist as well. So to all of you honorable ulama, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh and welcome.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yes, Sheikh Jamiel, I'd like to actually begin with you. And it is clear that we are honoring the legacy of a great personality. And, up front, obviously, our thoughts, our hearts go out to the family of Sheikh Ikram as well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them sabr at this difficult time. And also, more importantly, making dua for Sheikh Ikram. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fill his qabr with nur, grant him forgiveness and the highest stages in Jannah. Sorry about that. Sheikh Jamiel, I'm sure, as being one of the first students of the Honorable Sheikh, obviously when you learnt of his passing away, there's just so much in terms of memories that would have actually flashed through your mind. And let's just talk about this giant, this great personality, Shaykh Ekeraam Diedericks.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is remembering our Sheikh, our Honorable Sheikh, from the Quran, from the Sunnah, and from the sayings of the Salihin. With regards to Imam, his most pertinent aspect that we would remember him, he is from what the Quran describes, Rijadun la tulhihum tijara wa la bay'un an dhikrillah. That they are men who is never distracted by commerce or by trade from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they will always be either in a state of salah or giving zakah to the people and people benefiting. And when I'm saying zakah, even if it was a smile to everyone in the community. When it comes to the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, humul qawm la yashqa jalisuhum, that they are a people that will never, whoever is with them will never feel distressed or in an unhappy state if you are in his company. And lastly, when the Salihin idha ru'u dhakarullah, when you look at them, when you sit in their company, you remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yes, Sheikh Jamil, I can understand the emotion. Now, Sheikh Shakir Bakir also, and I'm just looking at this bio of Marhoom Imam Ekeraam Diedericks, rahimahumullah, and just looking at his career as well, and looking at what he has actually achieved over a period of time, and in terms of the inspiration that he brought to people throughout his teaching career. I mean, he taught in areas like Fitas, in Rivoli, in Eldorado Park as well. And for me personally, having first-hand experience where my late father was an imam in an area called Reha Park, and he was an ustad. Now we know the challenges, the difficulties, particularly in these type of areas, particularly poverty-stricken, social issues, all these issues put into perspective. Yet this is now someone who sacrificed so much, particularly in the areas that he had taught. And I'm sure that alone, and you yourself as well, Shaykh Shakir Bakir, and I know it hasn't been easy for you personally as well. So you can identify with what he achieved. And this is the reason why we are honoring this man, or this is the reason why we are paying tribute to his legacy as a pillar of faith, not only for his family, but for his community.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Uncle Inayat. Firstly, Sheikh started off very beautifully speaking of Imam, and it reminds me that the ayat of the Quran tells us there are men from amongst
Sheikh Shakir,
men.
I think we're having a slight problem.
This is an embedment of who.
We are having a slight problem, Sheikh Shakir. If you could possibly maybe switch off your camera to save on the bandwidth, because you are breaking up. So perhaps switch off the camera and let's do it on audio. Hopefully we will get a better quality. Okay. All right, there we go. You can proceed, Sheikh Shakir. Sorry about that.
You can proceed, Sheikh Shakir. Sorry about that. As I've indicated, Imam is an embediment of the term Imam al-Qawm. And thus for us has become what Imam was for our community. He has served the community for over 7 decades. And it was not an easy task for Imam to serve this community, whether it was giving a name to a student or a child, or making the nikah of someone. Someone yesterday indicated to me and said that at 11 o'clock, Imam had performed the nikah. Imam spoke to them and told them that you are living in haram. It's not right the way you are living. At 11 o'clock, Imam performed the nikah. No big ceremony, no need for all these various programs that people are putting in today. Imam wanted to fulfill the duty of Allah, the responsibility that Allah has placed upon him. And this was Imam. For us to have honored Imam in establishing the Imam Ekeraam Legacy Foundation, for us became a very great tribute, so that we could give Imam and honor Imam in his lifetime. For many a times we reflect only on the great legacy of our Akabir when they are no more with us. But for us, I think it is important, particularly those in the Malay communities, is to love in the legacy and the teachings of Imam. In fact, one important lesson, Imam always used to tell us that do not speak of a culture of Malay people. Speak of a culture of Islam. Speak of what Islam is. And that is what Imam wanted from us, so that we must become embediment of the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then the Imam loved the Rasulullah sallallahu. Imam's love for Rasulullah was very great. Imam's love for his community was of another caliber. And Imam would go out, and at any time Imam would give advices. You would never leave the company of Imam without taking an advice. My little young boy used to call Imam Peanuts, because when Imam always used to give the children something, and he remember Imam giving him peanuts, and he used to say that Imam used to give him peanuts.
Yes, Sheikh Shakir. Let's just talk to Sheikh Muhammad van Wyk out of Egypt this morning as well. Sheikh Muhammad, assalamu alaikum to you.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yes, Sheikh Muhammad, there's just so much that I think one can unpack, and one can actually see the emotion with both Sheikh Shakir and Shaykh Jamiel as well. And, there are many a times, sometimes, when we look at our scholars, when we look at our leaders, we look at them, you look at their intellectual capacity, but from what Shaykh Shakir is talking about as well, looking at, just that day-to-day involvement within the community, taking care of the community, someone who is practical in more ways than one. And when one tries to sum up the life of Shaykh Ikram as well, this was a man who was practical, this was a man who cared, this was a man who was a humanitarian in each and every way. And this is the love that he had for Islam. This is the love that he had for his community, for the well-being of his community as well. So Sheikh Muhammad, just what actually comes to mind when we're paying this tribute to this great personality?
Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa li sidqi wa safa. You know, when we look at the life of Imam Ekeraam, all we see is goodness. We see a true wali min awliya illahi salihin, a true friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who was constantly in dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And something ajib, something very surprising is that Imam Ekeraam is from the Mashayikh of Ba'alawi. Reason being, he has been reciting and, you know, reading the compilation of Imam al-Haddad rahimahullah for 70 years. And that is one of his pillars of strength that kept him going always, was the recital of the Ratib of Imam al-Haddad rahimahullah. And the greatness of Imam Ekeraam was that, wallahi, whenever you leave him, you leave him with knowledge from Islam, of this beautiful religion. And my inspiration for me going onto the path of seeking knowledge and the path of wanting to be an alim, I lost my father at a very young age. I never had any father figure or any elder brother or anyone who would, you know, teach me to do good. And at the age of 11, I was 11 years old. It was my first time sitting in itikaf in masjid, the Jummah Masjid of Eldorado Park. And Imam was sitting in itikaf there. And the way I saw him interacting with people, the love and compassion he showed to me as well as a youngster, made me always want to be like him. You know, as a youngster from the community, always wanting to, you know, to be, all role models were gangsters, role models were different, you know, people that were going in the bad way. And that's all we looked up to. But after seeing the akhlaq and the sifat of Imam Ekeraam, his character and the qualities he possessed, this drew me closer to wanting to be a man of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I always regarded Imam as wali min awliya salihin at-taqi naqi. He was indeed from the pious of servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was constantly making dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the love of children and youth for this Imam. Usually, if you go into a masjid after salah or after a gathering, the father will tell the child, go give salam to the Imam, give salam to the Shaykh. But with Imam, it was so great that people used to come to him automatically. Small children used to run and always wanted to be around a pure heart and a heart that is muta'alliq billah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is connected to He, Allah Rabbul Izzah Jalla subhanahu. What I admire of Imam was that he was not only a leader, but he was a father to me. After when I underwent my studies at the age of 12, I went to study in Pretoria. And, you know, coming to the end of my journey of studying, all the students were very happy that their fathers will be proud of who they became, of the time they spent in acquiring the knowledge of Deen. You know, communities are waiting these youngsters to come and to give them the platform. Unfortunately, when I returned from my studies and I went home, I wasn't given that platform. I wasn't given that, you know, that appreciation or anything, or even having elders in the community telling me, oh, mashallah. I came back, I wanted a job. I remember I looked for a job everywhere in the community, never got anything. But alhamdulillah, when I went to the Imam, he was a man who showed me appreciation, was proud of me, and always kept me on a pedestal. There was never a gathering in which I entered where Imam was, where he never put me in front, where he never made me, you know, give a talk, or where he never honored me. He lived up to his name, which is Ikram. And he made Ikram for all the Muslimin. Alhamdulillah, he honored me. He always, the last Eidul Fitr, I came into the masjid late, and Imam actually wanted to come off the mimbar and said that you are the beacon of light. You know, you are our future. So I want you to speak. And, you know, there was a time, one of my friends, a youngster, he asked me to give his child name. So I said, that's not my position. That are for the true people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I called Imam to come and bless us with his presence and to give the child name. And mashallah, I was sitting there, you know, like everything now, Imam. Imam said, I came here to see you become something in life, to see you taking on the legacy of me and, you know, being a Khalifa, a true Caliph of the Imam and follow his teachings. I made a promise to my teacher, Shaykh Jamiel Abrahams, and to Shaykh Ikram that I would come back to the community after acquiring knowledge and to keep the legacy and keep the flag of the Ash'ari Maturidi Aqidah. In fact, Imam was a follower of the Ash'ari Maturidi Aqidah, and he was a Sufi as well. He was muta'alliq with the tariqah. People would question tasawwuf and ask, what is tasawwuf? He was a true Sufi because man zada fi akhlaq, zada fi tasawwuf. That the person who increases in character indeed increased in tasawwuf. He was a great wali from the awliya salihin. And sadly, as a youngster, losing a teacher or a scholar of such caliber, it brings, you know, sadness to my heart. As it is said that mautul alam, that the death of a scholar is the death of a nation or death of the world. And a beautiful thing from the life of Imam Ekeraam, he understood the gatherings, the importance of having gatherings in which Allah and His Rasul was mentioned or remembered. The beauty of that was, subhanallah al-Khaliq, wherever Imam came, there was the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that was mentioned. Da'iman, the angels were always with this person and personality because he always used to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he was from the most intelligent of people who has built his life based on the akhirah. Everything was about the akhirah. You know, once a man came to the Ansar and he asked that, Ayyul mu'min akyas? Oh, Ya Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who is the most intelligent believer? And he said that أكثر منهم للموت ذكرى, that the one who always remembers death, and that was Imam Ekeraam. He was a man that worked for his akhirah and that left behind.
Sheikh Moestafah, can I just stop you there for a minute, please, because I believe one of the other students of Shaykh Imam Ekeraam, Moestafah Boeta Fafa, is actually coming online as well, obviously to pay tribute. But while we are waiting for Brother Moestafah to connect, I just want to get back to Shaykh Jamiel Abrahams as well. Shaykh Jamiel, I was just given a little write-up on the life of Marhoom Imam Diedericks. And, not only did he have this relationship with the Muslim community as an imam or as a teacher in the madrasa as well, but he was a respected member of the community as a whole, to the extent that even the gangsters, he was called to actually mediate to stop gang fights with a lot of success. And the community at large, Muslim and non-Muslim, had this ultimate respect. And while I was looking at some of the visuals and the pictures of the late Imam flashing on the screen as well, I seen featuring very prominently were a number of women, people around him, the Palestinian flag, the Palestinian colors as well. So, he identified with a lot more than just being an imam or a teacher in a madrasa. He cared for humanity in every sense of the word.
Most definitely. Imam, if we must, what you have described is a hal, a condition that Imam possessed at any one stage. Most of the functions that he fulfilled, many of them was in an unofficial role. Because unfortunately, when Imam became a leader in all aspects in Hajj, and so he was removed from Imamat. But Imamat was never removed from him. So the Palestinians at heart, he led the marches, he led the awakening way beyond the Israeli fights against the Palestinian people. Imam in his community, for those that know Extension 1, Generally, Extension 1 was a place where many of Muslims from Vrededorp and coloreds from Vrededorp and also from Kliptown stayed in. And it was gang infested. I remember one day I walked just to shop, and we were staying on the main road, so we were not even in Extension 1. We were in, staying in Extension 1, but Extension 1, the houses at the back, that's where the poor people stayed. We were a bit more fortunate, but I was walking, and then the gangs wanted to attack us. And just as they were about to attack us, they said, no, leave that. That is Imam Ekeraam's students. Imam showed such a respect to everyone, no matter who you were. And he stated, like Imam Hassan al-Basri said, never pass another person thinking that you are better than him. Because if you do, you have made tahkeem, you have made judgment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's qudra. How do you know that that person that you walk past, that you're despising, that he will become better than you and he will leave the dunya loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you will leave the dunya despised by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he reminds us of some of the greatest awliya of our time, like Sheikh Abu Bakr bin Abu Bakr.
We seem to have lost Shaykh Jamiel, but I see Brother Moestafah is online as well, one of the students of Shaykh Ikram Diedericks. Brother Moestafah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yes, alhamdulillah, we've heard these glowing tributes, and I'm sure as a student of the late Imam Ikram, rahimahumullah, I suppose mixed with a lot of emotion, being his student, obviously, someone who had learned under him, but also in terms of the personality, the giant of the personality of whom he was, leaving his footsteps, footprints in the sands of time as well. There's just so much that you can unpack. There must be a lot of memories, and I'm sure you are very truly saddened with the passing away of this great personality.
Ya Alhamdulillah, all praises due to Allah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I have been with Imam since the age of 8 years old. So I started my reading of Quran, like Alif, Ba, Ta, Alif, Tha. So that is where I started with Imam. And the first thing that I memorized from him was a small little dhikr that I want to make, because that's the first thing that I could memorize while being under his tuition. Can I do it over the phone?
Yes, please do.
قال الله الملك الأكبر في أختل مبروب المشعر رحمة تحمد واشتشكر إنا أعطيناك الكوثر بك ملك مولاك دفاك ورشد اشتهد إشراكا. The day when Imam had his celebration of his legendary celebrations, Imam actually forgot about this thing that he taught me when I was so small. It actually brought tears to his eyes, thinking that I could still memorize this simple little dhikr that he used to make for us as little children. So that in itself was that Imam to me was more than a father figure, than just my ustad. So everything I know now is Sheikh Bilal and making khadat, teaching people, keeping madrasa, keeping hajj classes to other people. It is what he has taught me. So when I was at the age of 19, then Imam told me, he says, Fafa, everything that I know, I have taught and gave over to you. So it's time for you now to go and seek further tuition from people that is much higher learned than me. So he named me a few people that I must go to that can now teach me further into the deen of Islam. So he mentioned a few imams that were all alive at that time. And then he said, go to that one, then he will teach you a lot of fiqh. Go to this one, he will teach you Mawlid. Go to that one, he will teach you Rifai. And then if you finish all this year, then you must go to Cape Town and you must learn under the Imam there in Cape Town. So that is what Imam was. If Imam couldn't give you an answer, he will never give you an answer. So you actually look up the books, look into the kitabs before actually, giving you an answer that is not sure of. But the main thing that I learned from Imam was, like Shaykh Jamil said, never ever think that you are better than another person. And that way you will go through life and people will not be envious of you, and people will always have respect for you and always follow the etiquette in life. So this is what Imam taught us. I can remember one day then he told me, Dlamini opened a mosque. They need a Bilal, so I want you to go and make the Ramadan with them. And then I went to Dlamini. I mean, in Dlamini, there was no people that know what we're doing as Bilals in the Ramadan. And after that Ramadan, then he told me, now you are ready for life because you can fit in with any community, you can fit in any mosque. And just know one thing in life, whenever you make dua, whenever you give adhan, it is not for you, it is for the sake of Allah. And then only you will get the reward and Allah will listen to when you say. The Mufti told Imam one day in the mosque in 23rd Street, when Moestafah give adhan, then the angels also listen. So Imam told the Mufti, because Moestafah give adhan out of the heart and not for Moestafah itself.
Allahu Akbar. Well, in fact, it's just so much, I suppose, that we can unpack, but time obviously, unfortunately, has run out. But as we reflect on the legacy and as we pay tribute to this great Shaykh Ikram Diedericks as well, we continue making dua as well. And to all of you, Shaykh Jamiel Abrahams, to Shaykh Muhammad Zaid van Wyk, to brother Moestafah Fafa as well, and to Shaykh Shakir Bakir, Jazakallah. But I think before we take leave, I have been informed that we are going to play out a little video clip just to go down memory lane and to honor, in fact, I believe it is a dua that is being recited by this great Sheikh, rahimahumullah. So let us just play out this video clip before we take leave of all of you, inshallah.
صلوا على
Well, that video was courtesy of the Imam Ekeraam Legacy Foundation, which obviously very, very appropriately, as we end this broadcast, paying tribute to this great personality, this giant of a personality who dedicated his entire life in the service of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the service of Islam, in the service of his community and everybody else around him. And alhamdulillah, it's just been wonderful to have his students paying tribute to Shaykh Ikram Diedericks today. So to all of you, to Shaykh Jamiel Abrahams, to Shaykh Muhammad Zaid van Wyk, to Shaykh Shakir Bakir, and also to brother Moestafah Fafa. I know I could see, in fact, just off screen, the tears actually. I can see the emotion as well at this point in time. But alhamdulillah, we are extremely pleased that we were able to be part and parcel of paying tribute at Salam Media to this wonderful personality. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy on him, on his family. Allah grant them all sabrun and jabil, inshallah, at this difficult time. But more importantly, we know kullu nafsin za'iqatul maut, every soul shall taste death, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken the great Sheikh in his mercy, and we make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fill his qabr with nur. Allah grant him Jannatul Firdaus, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him forgiveness, inshallah, and reward him for being such a great servant of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all of you.
Wa alaikum assalam wa
Waalaikumsalam.
rahmatullahi.
Yes, what an emotional moment it has been, actually. And again, another giant of a scholar that we have actually lost. And with that, I'm going to be wrapping up this morning's episode of News and Views. But before that, I'd just like to introduce you to Fired Up with Hafiz Imran Chunara, CEO of Africa Muslims Agency. And just to remind you that this hour of News and Views is brought to you by Africa Muslims Agency, and the topic to this morning is you cannot learn what you think you already know. And with that, we bid you fi amanillah, have yourself a wonderful Jummah, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.